is 710 KURV.
4:03 on News Talk 710 KURV. Good afternoon. I'm Tim Sullivan. A Travis County judge will decide if the cities of McAllen and Farr can retain control of their local elections or if Hidalgo County will run them. The judge heard arguments yesterday in a lawsuit that seeks to overturn a state code regarding election control. Lawyers for the two cities claim the 2009 law specifically targeted Hidalgo County, making it unconstitutional. Both cities have received petitions that would force them to turn over control of this year's municipal elections to the county. The judge took the arguments under consideration, said she would be issuing a ruling soon. There is a renewed push to legalize sports gambling in Texas. But as TSN's Michael Board reports, this bill, too, will be met by the very familiar push back.
The NFL season may be done for now, but the next time the Cowboys take the field, there's a chance you could place a bet on them, thanks to bills filed in the state legislature. But they face opposition from the powerful Texas Baptist Convention. Rob Kohler says there's a reason this fails every session.
States like Illinois, Pennsylvania, it jumped into casino-style gambling and it hadn't delivered.
But this year, there's a new coalition of pro sports teams which are lobbying for sports betting. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban tells me that it's crazy we send Texans to neighboring states to go to casinos.
The group Human Rights Campaign says Texas has quite a ways to go when it comes to providing equality for LGBT Texans. TSN's Barbara Schwartz has more on a new index compiled by the group, which ranks the border region especially low.
The advocacy group rated 506 cities nationwide on LGBT inclusion, law, and policy, 43 in Texas. Study author Xavier Prasad says the national average is a record high of 64, the Texas city average 43. He says this ninth edition of the Municipal Equality Index saw Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and San Antonio each score 100. Prasad says
they've passed citywide non-discrimination ordinances that include LGBTQ people to ensure that folks aren't discriminated against when they go to work, when they're searching for a place to live or engaging in community life.
Cities that scored less well in Texas include Pasadena, McAllen, Laredo, and Brownsville. Barbara Schwartz, News Talk 710 KURV.
Well, amid the coronavirus pandemic, a free grocery store has opened in a small North Texas school district that has become a food insecure area. It's a project of Paul Juarez, the executive director of First Refuge Ministries, who says he's made a food pantry look like a grocery store as a way to help people feel better about their situation. The free store is located at Linda Tutt High School in Sanger, north of Fort Worth. It offers canned goods, produce, laundry detergent, hygiene products, and other goods free of charge to eligible students and faculty, as well as to residents of Sanger. 43% of students in that school district are economically disadvantaged. More than 3% are homeless. Your 710 KURV exclusive AccuWeather forecast. Considerable cloudiness through tonight. Temperatures falling to the low 40s. Cloudy, cool, and drizzly tomorrow with highs in the upper 40s. Lows tomorrow night will hit the upper 30s. And not much difference on Saturday, highs in the low 50s. Right now, 46 at 710 KURV. News at the top and bottom of the hour and when it breaks and on demand at KURV.com. I'm Tim Sullivan, 710 KURV.
Together.
Our children will return to their schools.
Juntos.
Our families will once again meet and celebrate, and our businesses will thrive. Together, we will gather around our flag, and we will worship with our neighbors. Lone Star National Bank thanks all of the people of South Texas for staying strong, and we thank our employees for continuing to service our customers.
Together.
Juntos.
Lone Star National Bank, now more than ever, the Valley's Bank.
From the KURV Broadcast Center in McAllen, Texas, in the mighty Rio Grande Valley, this is a KURV Community Special. Let's do this! PPP Loans, what you need to know. This KURV Special is brought to you by Lone Star National Bank.
Well, look who it is.
Here's Sergio Sanchez.
Appreciate you tuning in, and a big hello, hug, and a kiss to all our family tuning in Cameron County, at the island, Brownsville as well, by a classic 92.7 FM. Live on Facebook, 710 KURV, the 710 KURV news special, PPP RGV. Let me bring aboard our participants today from the Rio Grande Valley Chamber of Commerce. The Rio Grande Valley Partnership is President Sergio Contreras has some economic data he'd like to share with us. Reynaldo Vasquez is with the Small Business Administration. Jeffrey Worstall is Executive Vice President, Chief Lending Officer with LSNB, and also Jose Leal, First Vice President and SBA Business Relationship Manager. Let's get right to it. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Davis Rankin, Zach Cantu, and Roxanne Flores. Mr. Worstall, first up, LSNB. We've had PPP RGV up and running now for several weeks. And let me preface the following question with something that the Chamber of Commerce in McAllen, Steve Elanius, told us this morning. He said roughly 1/3 of businesses that they had a chance to talk to poll in the most recent economic pandemic poll for Greater McAllen, he said only about 1/3 said they were going to take PPP round 2. Are you seeing a little bit less traffic right now at LSNB related to PPP?
Yes, actually, that's pretty much the normal for round 2, in the sense of we're seeing a lot less traffic compared to last year. I think that's due to some really good, clear guidance provided by the Small Business Administration this go around, as well as we're seeing a lot lower loan levels. The average loan size currently being, for us personally, about $53,000, whereas last year it was $150,000. Now, all of the reasons behind the lower level volume and both loan volume and loan amount is due to some really good guidance and direction provided by the agency, and the whole goal being to provide monies to the small businesses out in the local marketplaces.
Mr. Jose Leal is First Vice President, Lone Star National Bank, SBA Business Relationship Manager as well. Mr. Leal, one reality of COVID is, we've lost some friends of the community. We've lost some businesses. They had to shut down. From your experience in having a big portfolio of business clients in the community, percentage-wise ballpark, Mr. Leal, what would you say you've lost as clientele? 3%, 5%, 10% of that client list as a result of COVID?
Well, that's a little, I guess, difficult to come up with. I don't know. A good number would be probably 1 to 3%.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. What are some of the metrics? What are some of the economic markers that these businesses need to show up with in order to qualify for a PPP loan?
So really, to qualify, they need to show up with more so documentation. Now, they need to show up with tax return, W-3, W-2, 941s, and to your point, for a second loan, for someone who's gotten it in 2020, looking for additional funding in 2021, they need to show a 25% reduction in gross receipts, which can be compared quarter over quarter, 2019 and 2020, or year ends, 2019 year end to 2020 year end. But it is clear that they need to show a 25% reduction in gross revenues.
Okay. How about keeping the same amount of employees as they had this time last year? You know how we keep hearing that for companies to receive this loan and eventually make it a grant, well, they need to keep the same size payroll.
Yes, of course. The whole purpose of the program is to keep people employed and working, and you're exactly right. That is a requirement of the program, to keep people coming to work, keep them paid, etc.
You're listening to PPP RGV News Special, News Talk 710 KURV, also simulcasting on our sister station for Cameron County, Classic 92.7 FM. I'm Sergio Sanchez. Let me pitch over to Roxanne Flores for a quick question.
This is for Sergio Contreras. Sergio, real quickly, can you please give us some economic data of the present status of businesses here in the Rio Grande Valley?
Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you, Takayo, for this opportunity. We take a pulse of different industries, and I'll focus on a handful of them. And one of them is related to construction, both residential and commercial. So we work closely with the Texas A&M Real Estate Center. We provided some data recently, and I think, Takayo, you saw that, and we discussed that as well, where we continue to see expansion in the warehousing space, for either cold storage facilities as well as storage. Some communities expanding from 50,000 to 100,000 square foot facilities, and then we have some new ones, completely new, that are turning dirt right now. So we see economic progress in that area. When it comes to construction to residential, it's impressive to see how these numbers have changed from year over year. So as an example, comparing the fourth quarter of 2019 to 2020, the McAllen area saw jump from $127 million in construction value up to about $247 million when it comes to residential. And on Brownsville, it went from about 47,000 up to about 55,000. I'm sorry, 47 million to 55 million when it comes to construction for residential. So, in talking to our partners, so for example, EV Merit, they specialize in retail development as well. And he's telling me that, they continue to get projects. They're more on build to suit versus spec buildings. Also, what's interesting to them is that they are seeing first to market type of retailers that are coming to our region. And again, with quite a bit of ensuring that these are built to social distance requirements, as well as repurposing some of these larger facilities that were affected prior to COVID, such as your Bells, the mall in Harlingen. So they're finding new tenants for these that they'll soon announce. So we do see that expansion as well. Restaurants, the drive-throughs. Sonic is expanding 14 new of their drive-through facilities throughout the region. Again, that is because they're adjusting to how the consumers are able to shop nowadays. We did a little bit of market research, hands-on at the island the other day, and in talking to them, real estate is in high demand in that area as well, as folks are not traveling as much and are actually staying here. And talking to our chairman, he works over at Plains Capital, and he's saying that quite a bit of the real estate that is out there already, it's already marked at a certain price range, that if you want to invest, you better invest now, as properties and land is becoming scarce in the key areas where you want to be. So those are some of the areas that we've been tracking as well. An area where we saw expansion was governmental jobs. Unfortunately, the healthcare industry took a hit because of the elective surgeries that you weren't able to get in those areas. So we did see some unemployment rise in that area. So yes, those are some of the areas that we've been looking at recently.
You just prompted a question. I've been thinking about this for several days because we were talking with the local medical authority and then the local association some days back. Let me go back to our banker family. Again, this is a PPP RGV KURV special. If you have any questions, if you are in small business, if you'd like to throw us any questions, my email, sergio@kurv.com. And you can also post your questions at News Talk 710 KURV Facebook Live. Zycon 2 is going through the site and sharing those questions with us so we can bring those on air. Jeffrey Worstel, Executive Vice President, Chief Lending Officer, Lone Star National Bank. Of the businesses that you've seen, Jeffrey, are some of those businesses frontline health providers that have seen a cut in business 50, 60 plus, maybe more percent as a result of people not showing up with their kids with tummy aches or with flu or with strep throat? Frontline medical providers have seen a significant drop in business. Have you seen any doctors or medical offices in that list of businesses that are seeking PPP loans?
Yes, of course. Actually, that's one of the larger groups that have requested monies both in the first round and the second round. Physicians that run their own medical practices, as well as home health cares, et cetera, they have been a large group that has been in need of funding. And in both rounds, that has been a significant source of loans for us, and I imagine for the community.
10-4. Yeah, those folks took it on the chin. Roxanne, I know you had a question. Back to you.
Yeah, I don't know who can answer this question, but for businesses that don't have employees, can they qualify for a PPP loan?
I can answer that one. There's Reynaldo Vasquez with the SBA. So yes, they could qualify. It really would depend on their payroll. So usually like DBAs, independent contractors, they have to show net profits. So for us to determine a payroll. So that's the key, being able to determine a payroll so we can get the math.
What if they use it for like rent or utilities or anything along those lines? Could that still qualify for them to get a PPP loan, or does it have to be like determine the payroll?
Well, yeah, the payroll has to be determined. So like a DPA, let's just say they do services and they have $50,000 in sales and revenues, and they put 20,000 of expenses. Their net profit would be 30,000, and that would be the payroll that we can calculate off of. So that way we will divide the 12 and then multiply by 2.5, and we get the PPP amount.
Payroll Protection Program for the Rio Grande Valley. Special broadcast this hour. The talk line 800-580-8255. If you have a question off air for producer Joe Salinas, my email sergio@kurv.com. Post your question at Newstalk 710 KURV Facebook Live. Davis Rankin, go ahead.
This is pardon me, a question, and I'm not sure for whom. Let's start at the beginning. What is the PPP? Does the entire business community know about it? And if they go, I could sure use some help, I'm drowning over here, but they haven't heard of PPP, what do they do? How about Mr. Wurstel? We'll go to the head of the bank.
Sure, I'll jump out there. PPP stands for Paycheck Protection Program, and what this is a government-funded loan that the banks are really just brokering to the communities and providing funding to. That's given on fairly lax repayment terms, with the ultimate purpose of being forgiven by the SBA further down the road. The purpose of the monies is to keep people employed. It's to cover largely payroll. I think 60% of it has to be used for those purposes, and then the remaining 40 can be operating expenses. Example, lease payment, electric bill, water bill, etc. Most everyone can qualify. There is a list on the SBA website, I believe, that says who doesn't. There's certain sectors. However, there is clear instructions as to what needs to be provided, which I went over earlier: tax return, W-3, W-2, 941s, etc. And everyone is able to walk into any bank that is offering the services. I can assure you that any Lone Star branch is. And if your bank is not, or you don't know where to go, a second alternative other than visiting Lone Star would be to go to lendermatch.com on the SBA website.
Okay. So the SBA is pivotal to this thing. Working.
Thank you, David. I was trying to mute myself. I couldn't find it. It kind of hit there for a bit. This is Ray with the SBA. And David did a great job. I think we've been doing these webinars all month, so we kind of bounce back information. And really, we've been trying to promote these programs through the CARES Act and through the Economic Aid Act. We're doing outreach presentations, webinars. I just did one today in Spanish with the Brownsville Chamber. So we're definitely trying to promote it. The best way to find out about it is through our website. That's the best resource. Everything that we have, intro and final rules, Q&As, you can find in our website. And as soon as we get them, we put them public. That's sba.gov.
Davis, I want to expand on that, study from the partnership. Since we kicked off PPP initiation through the SBA. The SBA is a great resource. For those that have not engaged or don't have a direct contact at SBA, call your local Chamber of Commerce. All chambers of commerce throughout the region have engaged already with the SBA for webinars, and they'll connect you with the local folks. Ray does an outstanding job. And also, congratulations to all regional banks. They stepped it up. They learned the process. It was new to all. So we want to say thank you to them because they're also the lifeblood that provided services to our business owners.
Thank you.
23 minutes after the hour. You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV, simulcasting on our sister station, Classic 92.7 FM from South Padre Island. You're listening to a KURV news special, PPP RGV. Your questions, welcome. You can post those online at Facebook Live, News Talk 710 KURV. You can also email me, sergio@kurv.com. We'll take just a brief break and say thank you to our supporter for this big program, Lone Star National Bank. Time is 4:24. News Talk 710 KURV with our new special, PPP RGV.
Together. Our children will return to their schools.
Juntos.
Our families will once again meet and celebrate, and our businesses will thrive. Together, we will gather around our flag, and we will worship with our neighbors. Lone Star National Bank thanks all of the people of South Texas for staying strong, and we thank our employees for continuing to service our customers.
Together.
Juntos. Lone Star National Bank, now more than ever, the Valley's Bank.
I think the most destructive force in the country today is American liberalism, worldwide liberalism. They have to be defeated politically. Rush Limbaugh, tomorrow at 11, only on 710 KURV.
Time is 4:25. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 710 KURV. New special topic today, the Payroll Protection Program, Round 2 for the Rio Grande Valley. Back to Davis Rankin.
This is for Mr. Vasquez again from the Small Business Administration, if I read my notes right. How much did Congress allocate for PPP Round 2? You remember that? You're muted.
Turn on
unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Top of my head, I want to say 284 billion, but let me just check my notes. Yep, 284 billion was authorized under the Appropriations Act. So out of that, in the first 20 days, the newest PPP round funding, more than 891,000 of PPP loans, totaling $72.7 billion have been approved. So approximately 68% of them have been $50,000 or less, 81% of them $100,000 or less.
Okay.
So they really are going to the small businesses. The issues that I've seen, honestly, is just people don't know about it. And every time I go out, I meet especially independent contractors. They don't think themselves as independent or their own entities. They think they're employees.
You mean like drywall guys or the guy who mows your yard or air conditioning repair people?
Yep. Independent contractors, 1099s. They don't see themselves as their own business, and they pay self-employment. And we kind of have to tell them, look, if you have net profits, you may qualify for PPP. And they're kind of, I like seeing the face on them because like there's extra money for them. And then some employers, a big thing that we have to tell them, look, these aren't W-2 employees, so you can't put them on payroll. They're 1099s. They qualify on themselves. You're pretty much telling the IRS, look, I'm not going to pay W-2 taxes on these, so they're their own entities.
Jeffrey Worstel from Lone Star National Bank, back to you. Okay, on the 1099s then. I know they struggled first time around and eventually got onboarded to participate in the PPP. Are you seeing some 1099s show up saying, yeah, I'd like to sign up for this? And if so, what qualifies as keeping business status quo to the point where it could convert into a gift, into a grant?
Yeah.
So I'll tackle the first part. Yes, the 1099 persons, since they've been since last June when it opened up to them, they've been coming in with a fair amount of requests, maybe even close to half of them in total. that trend has continued in 2021 from just about day one that the program was offered. I want to say around the 18th of January for second draw persons. It's become part of the process and the norm, whereas last year it was split apart. So yes, we're seeing a lot of that type of borrower or prospect come in through the doors. That is norm for down here. On the second part, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Because we've heard keep your employees and you can convert this loan into a grant. So how does that work for individuals who are, in essence, self-employed and standing companies on their own? How do they qualify to make this a grant?
Yes, sir. Basically, that's considered income replacement. So long as they pay themselves, that should cover that requirement.
Okay. This sounds pretty easy that they can convert that. Keep the company open. Don't shut down. You can convert this grant. What's the ceiling, Mr. Vasquez? How much money we're looking at that could be borrowed by these individuals?
The PPP loan, we're looking into $2 million max.
Okay.
So,
You need to speak up, please, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Please repeat that. We could barely hear you. What did you say, Mr. V?
it would be 2 million, the max.
2 million maximum. And of
Yes,
course,
sir.
and it's all measured, Mr. Worstel, it's all measured based on their specific income. So they need to ask for what, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months maximum? What are we looking at?
I can answer that one. Based
12
off-
months.
12 months maximum is what they can borrow on the PPP. All right. It's 4:30 already. Let me take a quick break for
they get 2 months of payroll based on their history. So it's pretty much if it goes by payroll, either you're paying your W-2 employees or you're paying yourself. Usually it's you're paying yourself, right? You want to show that those net profits and whatever you're paying yourself, the government sees that as your payroll, and that's why we do the calculation on what you qualify for the PPP loan.
Okay, so that's Mr. Vasquez with the SBA. There you go. There's 2 months of payroll we're looking at right now. So to survive a little longer this year, Mr. V, we're going to need another relief program, another PPP to get us deeper into 2021. That's what we would need to wait for from Washington, right?
I really can't comment on that, but I would definitely like to see that.
Well, yeah.
That's not a political point of view. Tell us what your business side of you thinks.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, these programs are
2
great.
months. Yeah, 2 months. Otherwise, Congress.
I think these programs are great. I think they're really helping the community. It just the whole learning process is a curve. You know, even for us, it's new legislation. The SBA has to see this and put it into regulation. And then David knows and the lenders know. We all have to kind of learn as the process gets developed. I would say now we have a year in, so we're a little bit more experienced. We kind of have a platform to run off of, so things are going a lot smoother.
Time is 4:31. This is News Talk 710 KURV. New special payroll paycheck protection program in the Rio Grande Valley. Any questions? You can send those to us at News Talk 710 KURV Facebook Live. You can also call them in, speak with producer Joe. Off-air questions, please. 800-580-TALK. My email, sergio@kurv.com. A very, very big thank you to our supporters, and they're participating with us today. From Lone Star National Bank, Jose Leal, First Vice President, also Small Business Administration, Business Relations, and also Jeffrey Worstel from Lone Star National Bank, and Sergio Contreras from the Rio Grande Valley Partnership, and as you heard from the SBA, Mr. Reynaldo Vasquez. News Talk 710 KURV. We're simulcasting on our sister station 92.7 on South Padre Island. The news is next.
Top and bottom of the hour news. This is News Talk 710 KURV.
4:32 on News Talk 710 KURV. Good afternoon. I'm Tim Sullivan. At least 5 people were killed this morning in a massive wreck on Interstate 35 in Fort Worth. Officials say as many as 100 vehicles were involved in the chain reaction smash-up that trapped dozens of people in their vehicles. The pileup was more than a mile long and is being blamed on icy conditions. Wreckers and cranes are still working to remove the wrecked vehicles from the freeway. President Biden has officially ended the national emergency that President Trump declared in order to use military money to build a southern border wall. Trump had made his border wall a centerpiece of his administration, but Congress refused to provide all the funds he sought, prompting Trump to take money from the Pentagon after declaring a national emergency. Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador says many migrants believe the doors are open to the United States following the election of President Biden, but Lopez Obrador says that is not true and urged migrants not to believe traffickers who tell them that. AMLO also cited the recent massacre of 19 people, including 14 Guatemalan migrants, near the Texas border as justification for his policy of stopping Central American migrants at Mexico's southern border. Democratic prosecutors in Donald Trump's impeachment trial say rioters believed they were acting on the president's orders to storm the Capitol to undo Joe Biden's election victory. The Democrats today laid out the physical and mental harm caused by the Capitol attack and discussed Trump's lack of action as it unfolded. Dr. Anthony Fauci predicts by April, it'll be open season for vaccinations in the U.S. as supply boosts allow most people to get shots to protect against the coronavirus. Fauci, who serves as science advisor to President Biden, says the rate of vaccinations will greatly accelerate in the coming months. He credits the potential approval of a third vaccine, as well as moves by the Biden administration to increase the nation's capacity to deliver doses. AstraZeneca is trying to speed the process of creating a vaccine effective against new coronavirus variants. The company hopes to produce a vaccine that's more effective against a variant originating in South Africa within 6 to 9 months. The company's chief executive says coronavirus vaccines may have to be adjusted each year to account for new variants, like flu shots are now. Wall Street today, the Dow closed down 7 points. The Nasdaq gained 53, and the S&P 500 ended up 7. Your 710 KURV exclusive AccuWeather forecast: considerable cloudiness through tonight. Temperatures falling to the low 40s. Cloudy, cool, drizzly tomorrow. Highs in the upper 40s. And right now it's 45 at 710 KURV. News at the top and bottom of the hour and when it breaks and on demand at KURV.com. I'm Tim Sullivan, 710 KURV.
Together. Our children will return to their schools.
Juntos. All right, 30 seconds, everybody.
Will once again meet and celebrate, and our businesses will thrive. Together, we will gather around our flag, and we will worship with our neighbors. Lone Star National Bank thanks all of the people of South Texas for staying strong, and we thank our employees for continuing to service our customers.
Together. Juntos.
Lone Star National Bank, now more than ever, the Valley's bank.
If you're looking for a local product or service, go to KURV.com and click on the Service Now tab, supporting local business. News Talk 710 KURV and KURV.com.
Time is 4:36. This is News Talk 710 KURV, a PPP RGV news special, the Payroll Protection Program Round 2. I'm Sergio Sanchez, along with Davis Rankin and Roxanne Flores, Zach Cantu. And our guests today are panelists from the SBA, Fernando Vasquez, Sergio Contreras with the Rio Grande Valley Partnership, Jeffrey Wurstel with Lone Star National Bank, as well as Jose Leal with Lone Star National Bank. Davis, back to you.
This is for Mr. Wurstel. What are the most common questions that businesses bring to you, or that I suppose your lenders are getting from your officers are getting from people who want loans? What are they talking about?
Sure. The most common ones start with the basic questions of how do I apply? They just don't know how, where to pull the forms down, where to get it. Of course, we'll supply that to them. The second most common is how much do I qualify for? Even though there's been very clear, direct guidance given, I think, from the SBA, it's still everyone wants to know how much they qualify for. It's just easier to come in, talk to a business professional, and work through it. And then lastly, how will I get it forgiven? How does the loan get paid off? Those are the top three questions we receive at our banking centers.
Okay. Are those short answers typically easy to digest, or?
They can be. Depends upon the person's familiarity with the program. They can range from a 5 to 10 minute conversation to an hour and a half meeting if we're doing the whole application from scratch right there. The onboarding process is pretty easy. It's a very simple 1-page, 2-page application. And if the client comes in with the information on hand, it doesn't take much more than 30 minutes, like I said, an hour on tops, to get that application submitted to the SBA. Conversely, on the forgiveness side, it takes a little bit of education on our part to really get the customer at that point comfortable with submitting the information, because to date, it's a big unknown. Even now, only 20-30% of all loans approved last year, at least at Lone Star, have been forgiven. It's just mind awareness and getting people comfortable with doing something that's outside of the norm. But the system is working.
Banks don't traditionally forgive loans, right? That's not something.
No, we like to get paid.
Mr. Jose Leal with Lone Star National Bank. Stay in the radio business, David. Please don't go into banking.
That's why they're so insistent when you don't pay.
I understand how it works. Mr. Jose Leal, how long do businesses normally wait to see funds deposited into their accounts?
It could be actually as fast as, I'd say, 3 to 7 days. Wow. It really depends on the business, if they have the paperwork in order, but I'd say 3 to 7 days, somewhere in that range.
Does every single client need to go in person and speak with the lender face to face, or can this be done remotely?
We could do it remotely, definitely.
All of it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Roxanne, back to you.
This question is for Mr. Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez, is SBA currently offering anything other than PPP loans for small businesses?
We do have different Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, we do have different programs available under the Economic Aid Act and the CARES Act. The biggest one right now that I see being used is the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan for COVID-19. That's a direct loan from the SBA, the Office of Disaster Assistance. You can apply on our website, sba.gov, under the disaster assistance or funding options for COVID-19. And it's pretty much a 30-year note from the government, from the SBA, at 3.75 for-profit businesses, and nonprofits can qualify too at 2.75. So it's a really good program. It's supposed to give you 6 months of working capital, and they based off the working capital off your sales and your cost of goods sold. So they don't go by expenses, but minus your cost of goods sold, which is very important. And really, there's no really program that I've seen that can beat that. That's the government helping you out with the working capital loan for your business.
Can
something to add?
Both loans, Mr. V, can they get the injury and the PPP as well?
Yes, they can get both. There was a grant also attached to the advance, and there have been legislation that it used to be taken away from your PPP forgiveness. Now they took that away. So for individuals that try to get a PPP forgiveness and they had to pay back their EIDL advance, which is a grant, the SBA right now is working to remit those. So we're working with the lenders to pay off those outstanding balances. And there's a new round called Targeted EIDL Advance, and that the SBA will be reaching out to those applicants if they qualify. It's a little bit more targeted. They're looking at low to low income areas the business has to be in, 300 employees or less, and 30% revenue loss. And then you may qualify for the second round of EIDL Advance called Targeted. I know advance. And these are grants. You get $1,000 per employee, up to $10,000.
And something to add to the second PPP opportunity is that they added some new entities that now qualify that did not qualify before. So for the audience of importance are news organizations. Ray can expand on this. Even destination marketing organizations, correct me if I'm wrong here, convention centers, event centers, venues that we have many here in the region that did not qualify at one point. They do now. So we do have new opportunities for them.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Sergio. So you have four main ones, which is the housing cooperatives, destination marketing organizations, certain 501c6 organizations, or maybe like Chamber of Commerce, and eligible new organizations. So those are the new ones that were added to the eligibility of PPP.
Let me jump in, sir. Does that mean when you say destination marketing, does that mean like the Valley Partnership is eligible, chambers of commerce and convention visitor bureaus?
Honestly, it's very detailed, so we kind of have to look at it case by case to see if they're eligible. So those I usually go case by case. I have to do some research.
Okay.
So then overview of it, yes, that however, obviously you've got to qualify through the process. However, they are now in the mix to inquire for such funding.
PPP RGV News Special, News Talk 710 KURV, simulcasting on our sister station 927 FM, South Padre Island, live on Facebook as well. You can post a comment. Let's go back to Roxanne. Go ahead, Rox.
Again, another question for you, Mr. V. Do you know how much money Valley businesses used from the first round of PPP loans?
I don't have those numbers with me, but we can definitely get them like if you're just looking for the RGV on PPP loans.
Of interest, I think you'll find in that data that Lone Star National Bank was one of the leading partners of our region to support our small businesses. As you look at the data.
Mr. Vasquez, we did not exhaust all the money from the cookie jar round one, right? We still had a little bit left in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That money got forwarded to this round two, or was round two put on top of what was left over round one? Do you know?
I really don't know, honestly.
I think it's out in the cloud.
I would think you got rolled into the second round, but I really don't know. In the first round with the CARES Act, there were a lot of changes. So I do me personally expect some changes on the Economic Aid Act, maybe making it a little bit easier for people to qualify. But right now we're pretty strict on the 25% rule that David was mentioning. You have to show the 25% reduction in gross receipts. I would say look into the definition in our IFR to see what we consider gross receipts, because we go by the IRS definition.
Back to our friends at Lone Star National Bank, since they're on the front lines and talking with the business clients. Mr. Worstel, are you hearing any apprehension from some of your clients that they say, well, let me ask about it, but oh no, I've decided not to do it, or businesses just generally accepting the terms and taking the loans and grants? So, I mean, what do you hear from frontline businesses? Because I was surprised to hear right now that businesses are still discovering the PPP loan. We've been talking about this for more than a half year.
So I'm going to pull a move that I saw in the election, and I want to go back to that last question as to how much we did in the Valley, and I want to at least congratulate my lending team as well as the bank at Lone Star. Last year we did 153 million across the Rio Grande Valley. So I think we did a very good job, and so far this year we're well over 60 million. So we're doing very, very well as an organization in providing funding. I think we did a very terms, in the sense of, oh man, I don't think I want to accept these, etc. Usually it's coming in very humble and just really looking for immediate assistance. It's the key being us explaining as bankers and business professionals, explaining to them that if you use the funds properly and most everyone hears that you have to use it for payroll. But if you use it properly, this will get paid off by the federal government. Last year, it was a bit hazier because it was brand new, thrown on everyone at the same time. And there was apprehension like you were stating. But this year, now that the process is moving smoother, there have been many, many loans that have already been forgiven in the marketplace across all banks. There's a comfort level when it comes to the terms and conditions and actually getting customers to sign. So we haven't seen that level of apprehension in 2021 that we saw in 2020.
Let me go back to Davis Rankin real quick. Go ahead, David.
This is a question for Jose Leal, who's first vice president and Small Business Association business relationship manager at Lone Star. What disqualifies a company from getting a PPP loan?
Well, definitely, if they didn't have that 25% reduction in revenue, that'd be one of those. And I think that'd be one of the most important ones.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And there's
a 25% reduction in revenue. This is a broad question. Does that put them out of business, or is that just or not?
Yeah, pretty much. If they don't meet that qualification, they don't qualify.
Okay.
25% of revenue reduction. Let's say
from a quarter in 2019 to a quarter in 2020.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's doable.
Yeah.
When you're working with 2019 numbers, solid economy, that's very doable. Let me go back to Sergio Contreras from the Rio Grande Valley Partnership. One of the recent conversations we had with you, Tocayo, was the amazing strength of the Valley economy when it comes to sales and construction. I would imagine with the infusion of these tens and tens of millions of dollars in the economy, some of the economic markers for South Texas are likely to continue to climb in 2021.
Yes, that's a true statement, and thanks to the support of these programs, as well as stimulus checks, is what's really keeping our activity in the economic progress going. Recent conversation with some of our members, these Home Depots, they continue to break records year over year. In fact, as they are provided new budgets to meet for 2021, they're actually adding top numbers on top of what they secured for 2020 because they expect that. And you see pricings go up in some of these for materials. So that is where you see quite a bit of activity. Of importance in talking to some of our members is some had fared well that they are not able to provide that their income is 25% less than any of the previous 2019s. And they see that, and we've seen those that touch the construction folks, also title companies who have been very, very active.
Well, there you go. It's the home market then, either home improvement or I'm guessing home building, since the interest rates are just ridiculously low. People either expanding their home or buying a home. That's what's one of the big drivers right now, I suspect. Right, Serge?
Yes, and the ones that are taking it hard are those that really depend on traffic to come in and out of their stores. Restaurants, however, you do have some that have been innovative in identifying ways to connect with the customers without having to walk in through delivery, drive-throughs. That's why the governor is actually making it a priority, now that I recall, where he wants to make it allowing restaurants to be able to continue to sell the alcohol beverages, and as they pick up drive-through as well beyond COVID designated disaster.
Yeah, 10-4. It's about 7 minutes left in the hour. Final call for any questions. Sergio at KURV.com. Talk line 800-580-8255. Post your comment, question at Newstalk 710 KURV Facebook Live. This is a PPP RGV news special. We're talking about the Payroll Protection Program Round 2. It's up and running. Our guest from Lone Star National Bank and LSNB is our supporter for this hour-long broadcast. Jeffrey Worstel and Jose Leal, Sergio Contreras with the RGV partnership, and from the SBA, Reynaldo Vasquez. I'm Sergio Sanchez with the 710 KURV News Crew.
Together. Our children will return to their schools.
Juntos.
Our families will once again meet and celebrate, and our businesses will thrive. Together, we will gather around our flag, and we will worship with our neighbors. Lone Star National Bank thanks all of the people of South Texas for staying strong, and we thank our employees for continuing to service our customers.
Together. Juntos.
Lone Star National Bank, now more than ever, the Valley's bank.
Your Fox News station for the Valley. This is News Talk 710 KURV.
We're talking about the payroll protection program, billions of dollars allocated by lawmakers up in D.C. trying to keep many small businesses afloat during this pandemic. We hope see comes to an end pretty soon. From Lone Star National Bank, our supporters this hour, Jeffrey Worstel and Jose Leal, Sergio Contreras for the Rio Grande Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Reynaldo Vasquez for the Small Business Administration. Mr. Worstel, could you break down just ballpark, because I know you were mentioning, you were confirming my suspicions that some of these medical providers or many of the businesses that you're encountering and providing loans to, if you could break down percentage-wise, restaurants, like Sergio Contreras was mentioning, restaurants and retail and medical, and then ancillary service providers. Percentage-wise, what's the makeup of the industry coming to you to take these loans provided by SBA?
Sure. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cite what the SBA has already provided us year to date, because the bank's trends are following very closely. Food services and restaurants are right about 20%. You mentioned healthcare and professionals. That's about 10% of the total loans we funded. Retail's right at around 5%. And then there's a bunch of education, the arts, real estate, et cetera, all breaking down in 1% or less in the remaining sectors. But as you noted, the largest ones being restaurants, medical professionals, and retail.
Mr. Leal from Lone Star National Bank, are you there, brother? Just to make sure you're still connected.
Mr. Leal stepped out, but I'll take a swing.
Jeffrey, take me through the process in a couple of minutes for people in business right now thinking about applying for it. What do they need to do?
First thing they need to do is decide whether they want to call or walk into a Lone Star branch, because we will be prepared to answer any of the questions you may have from beginning to end, starting with if you need the application or you want to see the application, we've got it, as said earlier, either hard copy or digital. We can guide you through whether you qualify, guide you for how much you qualify, and then collect the information and submit it. We can do this in person or by telephone or by digital distribution or online. Not a problem any which way. And I highly encourage any business owner who hasn't taken advantage of the program. It is limited. It is running out slower than in 2020, but it is limited in amount, and it does end no matter what, March 31st. So if you even have a doubt whether you qualify or not, call your closest branch or stop by. And all the Lone Star bankers are prepared to inform, guide, and help you through this process.
I see Mr. V raising his hand, probably wants to say something. Go ahead, Mr. Vasquez.
I'm sorry, Zoom logged me off at random times. So.
That's all right. All right. You mentioned March 31st, Jeffrey. I don't recall that being part. Okay, so the clock is ticking then. You got there's under 2 months to get in there and get the loan. Otherwise, it needs to be reauthorized by Congress for folks to be able to re-up.
That's correct, sir. It has limited dollar amount and limited time. So the clock is ticking, and that's why I highly recommend, if you have any questions, whether you qualify or want to be a part of this program, stop at any local bank, but I particularly want you to stop at a Lone Star branch.
Right. My producer just gave me the 2-minute warning. Let me get some final thoughts. Sergio Contreras, Rio Grande Valley Partnership. Tocayo, final closing comment from you. Go ahead, brother.
Well, it's more certainly aligned to say thank you to the SBA, original banks, to Lone Star National Bank, and being a lead voice there for small business owners. And, for them to engage, small business owners, for them to continue to engage, inquire, and you've got contacts at your local chambers. Reach out to them, and they'll guide you and connect you with individuals that will help you. And thank you all for spreading the word on these opportunities.
That's a good point. For the Valley Partnership and other chambers, McAllen, Brownsville, we keep saying the steady cadence of seminars and webinars that they put together to try to keep the business community informed on all these laws. Mr. Vasquez, Reynaldo Vasquez, SBA, final thought from you, brother. Go ahead.
I'll follow up with what Sergio said. Engage with us. We have a lot of information. We're trying to help you in these situations. The other two things that I'll just quickly talk about: the Economic Aid Act also has SBA debt relief, and that's for existing business loans. SBA guarantees. You can get payments from the SBA from 3 to 8 months. That also applies for new loans. So if you guys take out new SBA guarantee loans from December 27 until the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th, you can get 90% guarantees from SBA and no guarantee fees. So those are really opportunistic times for individuals. And the other one, the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant. If you're interested in that one, just look it up at our website. I didn't really talk too much about it, but that's another grant available for live venues.
KURV News programs to continue that conversation. Thank you, Mr. V. Big thank you to Jeffrey Wurstall. Thank you to Jose Leal. Thank you, Sergio Contreras and Reynaldo Vasquez. This is News Talk 710 KURV. This is KURV Edinburgh. It's 5 o'clock.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Following orders. I'm Mary
Thank you,
Corsetti, Fox
guys.
News. A former
you.
president
Y'all did very well.
has been